Welcome back, everybody. So today what we're gonna work on, you see behind me, all this mess that I got going on, is we're gonna finally finish up my fenders for that wagon, that 64 Fairlane wagon that I got, because it runs now. So that's a good thing. So I set everything up, ready to get everything primered. I did a little bit of sanding on the jambs for the tailgate. We did some repairs. It's a little dent right here. So now we come to this fender, and as you can see, there has been some work attempted. A repair attempted on this fender right here. I'm trying to get you the angle so you can see. You can see some high spots right there, right there, right there, right there. And as you can tell, I've been trying to get it out by shrinking it and stretching it. I'm not very good at shrinking with a torch yet. It takes a lot of practice to get it absolutely right. And a lot of times, if you're not very experienced with it, you end up making more damage to the fender, as I did. I attempted a few times to shrink it with a torch. It didn't turn out very well. I don't think I was getting hot enough. But I have used shrinking discs before. And the same way a torch works, it heats up the metal and then you cool it down. In theory, it should shrink up the metal and get it back to being flat. So when we're trying to shrink the metal, what we're gonna do is get these high spots to come down and get the low spots to come up. So what we're gonna do first is use this marker. What this marker is gonna do is the ink is first of all gonna tell us or help us identify the high and the low spots, but also the ink is gonna act almost like a lubricant. We're gonna go ahead and hit it with the machine, get it warm, and then we'll spray it with some water. You can see we rubbed away most of the marker in these areas, so those are our high spots. I don't have enough RPM because it's not getting hot enough. So let's hit it again, maybe with a little higher RPM. Not hot enough yet. So the whole goal of this is eventually we'll start seeing all the marker wear away as we're hitting it with the wheel. So we should get this pretty flat, and then we could hit it with a little more dolly and hammer action here to get some of the rest of these dents out. But this should do most of the work. And again, you want to let the tool do the work. So you just turn it on and just let it kind of glide over. Let the tool do the work. You don't really need to grind, you know, with the wheel into the fender. The wheel heats up the fender, the water cools back down, and hopefully we can get this pretty flat. See the steam coming up off the fender? That's what we want to see. The key word in this whole process is patience. Can't rush it. So after a few hours of shrinking disc action, little hammer and dolly action, not looking too shabby. The high spots, well, most of them are gone. I can still feel a couple in this area, and now there's a low spot here. Let me show you. So if you look at it from this direction, the fender's supposed to have this radius right here. And it's still kind of flat. It's not supposed to be that flat. But the high spots are gone. Remember we had like a line going across here? It's all gone. There's a low spot in this area right here. If I push up on it right here, see how that the fender kind of gets that radius back. So I'm gonna flip the fender around and tap on this with some hammer dolly action. If you look at it from this side, I know it's hard to see on camera, but there is, you can always, well, you can feel it, but I don't know if you can see it on the camera. You can see it right here, the high, well, on this side it's the high spot, but since we're trying to get that part flat, we're gonna push this in that direction. And what we're doing, usually we're trying to do dolly off, you know, where you hit the fender, dolly off, but since we're trying to stretch, which is, you know, the whole point of this, we're trying to stretch this metal out. So we're gonna, you wanna hear that. When you hear that, you're squeezing the metals, or the metal in between these two, the hammer and the dolly, this being the hammer. So you stretch the metal out, and that's, you kinda wanna hear that. In this instance, so we can get it back into shape. And again, when you hit it, you don't want to just smack it. We're kind of, you know, we're hitting it like this, we're brushing it. So now that the fender's in this state, meaning that all the big highs and lows, the big creases that were in the fender, since all those are gone, pretty much the wheel is gonna do all the work for us. All I have to do is really just kind of float over this. Like, you don't want to put, I'm not gonna put too much pressure on the fender. It's gonna let the wheel heat this up, this whole area up. And then I'll cool it again, heat it up, cool it again, until I get rid of that tin canning first of all. Because it's pretty, I mean, it's very close to being done. Well, there you go, guys. That did take a long time. It was a few hours, at least a few hours. But this did its job, man. I try to do this with the heat method, and I learned how to do it a long time ago. And if you don't practice it, you don't get good at it. You end up doing more damage. And I think that's one of the things that I did. That disc did its job. You're able to control the heat evenly across the panel so you don't do any warping on parts that you don't want to apply heat to. Very little body filler to fill that up, if any. Maybe that high build primer will just take care of it all. But it's done, guys. Thanks again for joining me. Please like and subscribe if you're liking the content. I'll catch you guys on the next one. So there we go. That's as good as I'm gonna get it. But anyway, see you on the next one.